weekend review. This one we're going to touch on what happened in the PL and also the Clasico. So first off, we'll just quickly go through Arsenal, Sheffield. No one really cares because it's a match involving the 10th place team and the 19th place team. So yeah, blah blah blah. Lacazette scored a brace. Moving on from there. Chelsea v Palace. Chelsea were very impressive in this match. I felt that they controlled the game pretty much from start to finish. Pulisic scored a brace. Havertz finally came good, and they genuinely look like they're going places. And that 5-2 loss to West Brom was nothing but a blimp. It's just a blip, rather. So Chelsea looked strong. It looked more like the Chelsea that people expect to see under Tuchel. Defensively sound, lots of possession, and if those guys get a striker in the transfer window, Chelsea will be a right problem. They will be a serious problem if they get a world-class number 9. Excuse me. Someone like Kane or Haaland. With financial fair play being lifted, the restrictions around spending that were imposed by financial fair play, if they really want to go all out because those restrictions have been lifted, they could get someone like Kane or Haaland, which will cause problems for everyone else in the league. So Chelsea, really strong performance, and I can see them making a late run for the 4th position. To finish 4th. Moving on to Man City versus Leeds. This was actually a shock result because 1, it's Leeds. 2, Leeds had 10 men. So for City to lose this game, it really came out of nowhere. But I wouldn't dwell on it too much if I was a City supporter, because this was the one game they could afford to lose. If we're being totally objective, they can't afford to lose any of the cup games because cup games too heavily, because cup games and you're out. But they've got such a healthy lead over United that losing this match isn't the end of the world for them. So I expect them to bounce back and clean house when they face Dortmund. And I don't expect them to be too shaken from this. It's mildly embarrassing being beaten by 10 men, but if you've got the healthy lead that they have, it's no problem. I can't give credit to Leeds United. I'm a United supporter, so yeah, good job. That's it. That's all I'll say. Okay, nothing more than that. Moving on from there, we go to Liverpool's result against Aston Villa, and it looked like VAR was going to rob Liverpool of some points here, because VAR, as usual, my issue with VAR isn't the technology itself. My issue with VAR is that the laws of the game as we know it, have to be rewritten to accommodate VAR. When the game's been fine throughout all this time, okay, it's been fine for centuries without VAR, but somehow we expect a centuries-old game to overnight morph into something that suits VAR, when it's supposed to be the other way around. VAR is supposed to be written, or the rules and regulations surrounding VAR are supposed to be written in a way that complements and adds to football, not taking it away. So, this is why we're seeing nonsense like people's hands and armpits, and elbows being offside. The law says that only a part of the body which can be used to play can be offside. So your finger can't be offside. Your elbow cannot be offside. And yet we're seeing nonsense like that, you know. VAR itself is not the problem. It's the people who are implementing VAR, whoever they are. These people hidden in some back room in the capital city, you know, you should be ashamed of themselves, because this weekend was a farce, absolute farce. Liverpool deserved the win. Villa played well, but that little extra bit of quality is what Liverpool could draw on. You know, Trent's goal was phenomenal. No hate. You know, I know it's fashionable to hate on Liverpool right now, and trust me, I do. I myself do engage in mountain loads of banter towards Liverpool, but I have to give them credit for this one because they were really on point. They really fought. They showed character. They dug in. They fought back, and they got the result that they deserved, despite having to play against VAR. Then finally in the EPL, we can talk about the Spurs United game. Brilliant game in the second half. The first half I felt it was absolutely atrocious. I mean, this idea that Paul Pogba will thrive on the left-hand side, the left wing in front of a front three, was just bizarre. I don't know why Ole keeps messing about with it, just so that he can accommodate McTominay and Fred in midfield. It's totally bizarre to me, and I wish he'd stop. But credit to Ole again in the second half, because he managed to switch it up. He switched things up, and we were playing more of a 4-4-2, more or less, with Pogba freed from having to be a winger, you know, making his marauding runs, influencing the play, and you got the best display from Pogba this season. I think this season, that's his best display. He was absolutely everywhere, dominated the ball. Okay. Mason Greenwood scored one, made one off the bench. Absolutely sensational. He has now equaled Marcus Rashford's record of being the second youngest player to reach 13 goals despite being a teenager. So the record is that Rashford was 18 when he scored 13 Premier League goals. The only person with more Premier League goals as a teenager is Wayne Rooney with 15. So Greenwood, if he plays, which it seems like he's going to play because Rashford limped out, hopefully it's not too serious. If Greenwood plays a good chunk of the Premier League games we have left, he'll either equal or surpass Wayne Rooney's record for goals scored as a teenager in the league, which is phenomenal. So big up to him. Big up to the much maligned Fred for actually scoring a goal after taking 73 shots. His finishing is woeful. He needs to work on that, but I am glad that he managed to pull it off. The second half was just phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. They were hungrier. They were moving the ball around quicker. They were chasing after everything. They were pressing Spurs. They kept forcing Spurs to make silly mistakes, and to be perfectly honest, it should have been 4 or 5, you know, because Cavani had another chance. Pogba had a chance where he just, I don't know what he was trying to do. There's some fancy back heel or something like that. Yeah, but I just felt it was bizarre. Anyway, the United showed mentality, the proper mentality, proper fighting spirit, all pulling in the same direction. Absolutely phenomenal. They've got 28 points from losing positions. Okay, so quick rule of thumb: if you're playing a league match with Man United and you're the hosts, do not celebrate if they score first. If you score first, don't, because these guys it's comebacks are us. Absolutely phenomenal. I'm so pleased with the second half. I was WhatsApping a friend of mine and I just said, listen, in the first half, I just told him, listen, the way this match is going, we'll be lucky to score one because everything is just terrible. But the second half was more like United. Then I'll quickly touch on Spurs before we move on to the La Liga stuff. Spurs, I think, should be ashamed of themselves. Son should be embarrassed. He'll look back at that and he will be embarrassed, for acting like such a weakling there, for rolling on the ground for minutes and minutes and minutes and then waiting for 10 people to pick you up. I thought he was shocking, and I thought justice was done when he was on the losing end, and I'm not buying into that whole sympathetic nonsense there he's trying to pull there, where he's trying to get people's sympathy at the end of the match, giving that interview, no, I'm just low, and no, fam, you're a cheat. You're straight up cheat and you're a fraud. Okay, I hope you go to Germany too there, because I wouldn't want that sort of nonsense here. Don't need any of that nonsense here. Okay. So I'm glad they lost after doing all that nonsense. I'm glad they lost after Jose Mourinho set up his Catenaccio pathetic defensive football. That's why this man's over the hill. He has one way of playing, and when you counter that way of playing, he doesn't have any other answers. His teams only try to attack when they concede a goal, which leads me to believe that his whole setup is trying to nick something on the counter, which is bizarre because it's counterintuitive to what football should be about. Football should be about getting goals and winning, but he seems to believe that, somehow not conceding should be the be-all and end-all. His team was set up terribly. The low block was just shambles. His personnel are not set up to do what he's asking them to do. Simple. And I genuinely hope they finish outside the top 4 so that Harry Kane can move, because Harry Kane deserves better. It's not even a whole I want Harry Kane to come to United. I mean, I'd be happy to, but I'm being realistic. But in the sense of, I doubt we'll be able to get him. But Harry Kane deserves much, much better, for someone who, if he stays in this league, will break the all-time top goal scorer record set by Alan Shearer. He needs a better team. Okay, so that's all on the PL stuff. Quick one on El Clasico. I felt that Real Madrid got and deserved the win. They were decisive. Barcelona were sterile in possession. It was just side to side and keeping the ball for the sake of keeping the ball. It's like they didn't know what to do with it. Madrid were disciplined. They got to the point. Okay? They got to the point, and it's like Barcelona didn't watch the Liverpool match in midweek, where it was just direct football that led to some of the goals, So for me, I have to give my hats off to Zidane. He played it excellently, and as usual, Barcelona had to get someone sent off for no good reason, just to go and give themselves a tactical advantage. I hate it when players do that. And Messi must be so glad that he's decided to leave, because that team is not going anywhere fast. They'll qualify comfortably for Champions League football. They have more quality than most of the teams in Spain, but they are not set up to win pretty much anything right now. Yeah, so that's, I think, my totality of the review. And like, share and subscribe, all that good stuff.